baby. It's time to ride the funk train. We've got a lot of exciting people going to be on the podcast tonight, y'all. And I'm sorry that it's 15 minutes late. I've been stressed out, beaten up, thrown down the steps, had porridge souped on my balls. And I just used souped as a verb. But Big Luke.
Souped. I dig it. You got me for a few minutes.
Yeah. Awesome. We got on the show today. We have Warren Marlow, which sounds like a character from Grumpy Old Men, but he's a young.
Are you sure it's not Marlon Warlow?
I hope it's Marlon Warlow, but I think it's Warren Marlow. We were on his podcast, or me and Amber were, and we're going to return the favor. He's a wrestling man with his own podcast. Hell of a nice, energetic young fellow. But before we get into that, and we may have Spaceman Jones and the Mothership's on later. But before we get into all that,
love me some Spaceman Jones. Black Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, don't blow the Iggy. Speaking of wrestling, it's interesting. We got Warren on for the first time in Luke. Is it 4 years or 3?
I think probably about somewhere between 3 or 4 years.
I can't believe it's been that long. We went out and we were actually participants in a main event tag team extravaganza in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. Big and Funky versus some sort of Irish potato.
They gave us 20.
There was a potato and there was a sausage.
They gave us 20 minutes and they thought we went 15 and we went 32.
We went 32.
Yeah.
I felt it the next day. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, they actually
that's because you were doing work. I wasn't.
You were making the people laugh. You did what you did. Bob O'Mac, who's an old friend of mine, an old rival of mine from the days of wrestling. His wife used to be my valet in a very hot, torrid angle back in the Disney day. He was there, and he said you were hilarious. And then if anybody wants to see this match, Tracy's got it on her Facebook Live, by the way.
It's also on mine. I shared it.
Really?
But little Mikey made his debut.
Yeah.
And we had a good time.
Yeah. And I thought now what happened was funny. I was waiting on Julie. She was in the emergency. Well, she was having surgery this week. And I was waiting on her, and I wrote this I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but this explanation of the rules and what was the egregious offenses. And to me, it was humorous because it was written like a legal statement, and it was going into because if you would imagine, can you imagine not knowing what pro wrestling was, and you went somewhere and you saw something like that, you would be like, it would make headline news, like Juwan Howard just punched a guy.
And then he grabbed his arm and twisted it.
Headline news for days. So I mean, in pro wrestling, the stuff that the shenanigans are going. So I just wrote this legal-like thing, and the guys who were the bad guys, I guess you would call it, or the nefarious tag team, started jawing on it, and the guy, one of the manager, started getting death threats for his children, and they were taking pictures. Yes, they were taking pictures of his kids, and the guy was like, "Well, this is too much heat for me." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a little weird. It's been a while since I've been in pro wrestling, but people don't realize that when we did the angle, we did a year-long angle building up heat with the Southern Bad Boys that came down to them destroying one of Vinny's taxi cabs with baseball bats, and literally people were calling the police. People were hunting them down, trying to figure out where they lived, and we were the heels. That was a good angle because it was you had people calling, going, "Should I install a security system?" And I was like, "Yes, you should. Yes, you should."
You should.
I probably made ADT a few bucks, but yeah, that got so many hits, and it was such a violent act against one of my taxi cabs that Facebook took that video down. It had almost 10,000 views before it went down. But
did you say you ate ass on it?
No. Well, there go again. Now we're just.
No,
don't
he's
say
not going to
this.
steal your
You're a-
line, Luke.
Just see, you sit there and say that, and you're always like John and me about liking a girl's
Well,
foot.
that's why I'm gonna start next week. I'm doing my own show, my own vlog type deal on Rumble because I can say whatever the hell I want
You're just turning
and
into
not get
a
kicked
Trump
off.
supporter.
Yeah, I'm turning into fucking Trump. But then again, with what's going on in the nation, I probably would have voted for him.
Well, they're two heads on the same dog. Biden,
but
a diaper. Biden is a diaper wearer that urinates his diaper. That's the only.
he's the first president that truly. I mean, I thought George Bush was a puppet, but George Bush had his own thoughts. But Biden is a 100% puppet of corporations and the DNC. 100% a puppet. And
he did not sound like he was on top of things today.
No.
He doesn't sound like he does. Yeah, he doesn't sound like he does knuckle push-ups anymore.
Bill Clinton was a wild card. Obama was a wild card. Trump was a wild card. Bush had a good heart. But George Bush Jr. or little Bush, he had a good heart, but man, he was controlled by Cheney and all them. But man, Biden has no control over fucking anything. Dude gives away the plans of what he's going to do. Yeah, if they make a little incursion, we'll just do a couple little sanctions. If what the hell are you giving away war plans for, you idiot?
He's the best we got, apparently.
Why is he not calling and making, opening a conversation with Putin instead of being all like, I'm not going to talk to him?
I'll tell you why. He's tried to call Putin and Putin won't answer his call because he's fucking Biden's a pussy.
Well, that's what he should have said. Because continuing to attempt to negotiate to end hostilities is the right way to go.
Yeah, but
sorry.
No,
I think he should call him and blow his phone up. Ring, 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 ring.
Yeah, but
can't
Trump
get anything done.
Trump was an unpredictable pussy. You didn't know what he was going to. He was unpredictable. You didn't know what was going to happen with him. But
he was a turd
shithead.
He was a turd.
He was a shithead.
I mean, he's a wet pussy. So is fucking. Well, Biden's a dry pussy. Let's not talk about politics. Good Lord, we got so much to talk about. We got guests on today. Courtney Punky Perky. Courtney Perky. I thought her name was Punky this whole time. Good grief! I just got new contacts. She's in the chat room. Hello, sweetheart. So, Luke, good match that we had, and congratulations that we didn't hurt each other. And
that was a lot of fun. That was the first match we've had in like 4 years, and it was probably the first match we've had as straight up baby faces. And Vinny's out there choking guys, and I'm like, you can't do that. We're the good guys.
Oh, I was dying. It was so funny.
Old habits are hard to break. Yeah. It's just that Baltimore bad. Speaking of Baltimore bad, the hike is going to get a new paint job. What is required of me is to get it ready for ProRes. So it's going to look like $1 million, and I'm toying with the idea of retooling the opening a little bit. So it'll be kind of like a new director's cut.
Yeah, because people got confused by that but I thought it was brilliant. But what it was is people got confused by the intro of the movie because it was kind of artsy. One scene's going backwards, one scene's going forward. Both scenes took place 2 weeks prior to the beginning. I thought it was with what you had. It was a little confusing, but it was artsy. If the whole movie would have went like that, we would have probably won Oscars.
Well, I don't know. I'm toying with the idea. Of course, I'm gonna let you sign off on it, Luke, when I get done with it. But I'm thinking about explaining.
I trust.
Well, no,
I trust your.
No,
your
I don't want to dork up. I don't want to dork up the hike because the hike's awesome. I think people need to know that Spearfinger is a real Cherokee legend and not just something weird we made up. So I think that needs to be introduced earlier on, and people need to know it's a comedy. That's the other thing, because it was artsy fartsy, and then when the funny stuff starts happening, you're like, What in the hell is that? So, who was that?
I don't know.
Oh, I couldn't tell. Was that a girl? Were we supposed to like what she looked like? You sexist pig.
Was that a sexist would do? That's exactly what happened right there.
One who appreciates. So, before we have our guest on, he's not back in his chair. He's feeding his kids. So before we have our guest on, I'm almost done with Fish Fisher's project he had for us when we went out and shot the video for Amy Sunshine's Miss Anna's song, and they watched the rough draft and they said they absolutely love it, and it is a sad song. And me and you have both lost babies, not us, but our partners at the time, and it's not a fun feeling, and it kind of opened that wound a little bit. But it's a dirge. It's not a fun song. It's not a comedy. It's not anything like that. But it's about a woman at some point in history losing 2 children, and it's a serious video. But that's coming down the pike from our little production house, and that was fun to shoot. I never saw it. Did you ever see the rooster? Tracy, we saw a rooster climb a tree. Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, a branch at a time, and it took about 30 minutes for it to jump on each branch.
It looks like an old video game. Have you ever seen a rooster climb a tree? Tracy?
I have not in person.
Apparently, it's like trying to get away from a badger or a fox or something. I don't know.
But it leaves all the other. It leaves all
supposed to protect the hens. So
no, man, this rooster's like, this rooster's like, hell with them hens. We're jumping up.
That is a sexist rooster. Well, maybe he's not. Maybe he's like, I believe the hens are equal and they can protect themselves. Maybe he's an ultra liberal rooster.
He went through equity training. He's a good guy.
He was, but he got the hell away from that, or whatever it was, badger or whatnot. We got Michael Leach in the chat room. He's a New England Patriot fan, so we won't acknowledge him.
But you already acknowledged him, so
I know. I just see that's the way I wanted to besmirch him a smidge, and then also acknowledge him at the same time. See, you're giving away the secrets. What you gonna tell everybody how I know what number they're thinking of here next?
Tracy's thinking of 7.
She's thinking of
just
7
because that's what my forehead wrinkles say doesn't mean that's what I'm thinking.
She's thinking of 7.5 or 7 3/4. All right, Luke.
I've got some big stuff coming up with music, so pay attention to my Facebook page. I got to get out of here and get Henry a break and drink my beer.
Tell Henry we said hi.
You also have big movie stuff happening. Hopefully, there'll be a Camp Smokey trailer from you. Is that right?
I'm doing my. Everything's flooded out here, so I have to wait for dirt. So it's as dumb as that sounds. Yeah, I gotta. That's my next song. It's called "Waiting for Dirt," and
you are a country music person now.
So I love y'all, and I'll see you guys all next week. And pay attention. I'm going to do a vlog on Rumble. I might do one tomorrow, just to start it off.
What the fuck is Rumble? All right, cowboy.
All right,
something weird. I don't know.
Rumble. Get out of here. That sounds like, is that one of those gay dating apps? No, apparently it's a social media thing that there's no censorship. And see, he's doing it because he keeps getting, like, every time we make a joke on this podcast, the podcast gets taken down.
Yeah.
Like
really annoying.
Yeah. And because nobody is funny anymore. But because this thing gets, I don't know, it gets a couple hundred views by the time it goes through the week, through all the platforms. And so apparently somebody got offended because he said he cured one of the most popular diseases at the moment that everybody's afraid of by eating the rear end of a female human being or something. So, and he got canceled. But apparently this is what's going to happen with Rumble is guys like him who are comedians are going to go over there and be funny. And then all of a sudden, these guys who are into pedophilia and wanting to blow up churches that black people attend, they're going to infiltrate that. So anytime you say, hey, guys, I'm on Rumble, people are going to think that you're...
Oh, that's the morally bereft people.
Yeah, like that's a good way to put it. All right, speaking of morally bereft people, we have a guest today. Warren Marlow. Like I said, it sounds like a character from Grumpy Old Men, but this guy is a young buck, a badass, an ex-wrestler, and he hosts a podcast. So we're going to have him on. We're going to talk some jive. I know Tracy loves talking wrestling, so we're excited. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Was that you or me that's breaking up?
I just stopped talking in the middle of the sentence because I decided it wasn't worth it.
That's a great way to do a podcast. Just start a sentence and just stop talking. What a great introduction for Warren Marlow. Buzzing
with Marlow.
Marlow.
How's it going?
Well, you had to feed your daughter. How'd that go?
She's quiet now. That's the major thing, man. Gotta make sure the quietness happens before you do these recordings.
That is a great lesson for all men, by the way. Is if you need the girl to pipe down a smidge.
Or through my wife, or somehow it's our cat. Like it's just like it all literally just one has to mess something up every time.
I hear you.
That's a good thing for editing.
Well, this is live, baby. We're flying live. Laser beams. Oh, yeah. We got people in the chat looking at you going, there's a guy at Actual Biceps who's drinking out of a container. He must work out, which is something I've been doing.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't like it. So how long have you been in wrestling?
I wrestled for 6 years.
Okay, and you stopped because you have a neck injury, is that right?
Yeah, and I actually had a concussion protocol as well.
That's painful. So you got taken out.
Over 13 of them, so yeah.
Ooh. Now, your wrestling style, you were a high flyer, right?
I would say I was an old school wrestler, and then when it started elevating up, obviously the crossbody has to happen eventually, and you do so many of them. You know, we all live for that pop moment for the crowd and stuff like that, and now it's biting me in my ass now later on.
I'm telling you, it's
There's the same, man. The pop is temporary. Your body ain't.
I think the thing is you got to figure out how to pop the crowd without injuring your body. And it's tough now because the wrestlers these days
changed. So different.
The wrestlers these days are so physical. And here's the problem with it. Back in the 80s, guys would not kill themselves, and yet the audience thought they were. Mm-hmm. Now the guys are killing themselves, and everybody thinks it's fake. So if they jump off the rafters,
which is sad, we hit so much harder than what they did back in the day too. So that's even the weirder part when they say it's fake. Like you're literally like almost watching stuff like you watch on New Japan, other than we don't just drop each other on our head. Right. Like literally, like it's so different. And like how you said with the fast pace and stuff, I think that's one bad thing about wrestling nowadays is just because, like how you said about the 80s, like we have certain wrestlers that stand out from those generations. We don't really have it in this generation. And I'm pretty sure I get in trouble for saying that. We got Kenny Omega and we got this. I'm like, they're good, but they're not the Stone Colds, The Rock, like the five moves of doom guys, like we like to call it. Like those are the ones that are on cereal boxes, T-shirts, all that stuff. And those are one of the guys that are most memorable is just stuff that ain't even based off of wrestling. And that's one thing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter what you do in the ring.
Exactly. I wish I'd known that about 6 years ago. I would be so much better.
That's what I tell people all the time. What are you doing? My finish is the figure 4 because it's.
I did a code breaker, so.
Yeah, see, I mean, the code breaker is a rough move, man. So
that's just on me. That's not even hurting them. That's just on me.
Well, most moves are. So whatever, like I've got a friend of mine, and Tracy's got experience with CTE disorder in her life, which is no joke. And that's something that you have to worry about. And I hope you go to see the doctors and stuff about that.
Please comply with your medical suggestions, please.
I had to make a couple of visits, like literally regularly 2 to 3 times a month at first. Since I've been out of the ring for almost 3 years now, it's gotten so much better. My memory is like that now. Like I can remember stuff like last week. like when I was wrestling, because I was still working at a warehouse because that's really what's paying my bills. Because newsflash, everybody, when you start wrestling, you're not making WWE pay. You're not making those big money checks. Like you're literally making what you bring into that house. And I got very lucky at the very end of my career. Like, yeah, I was making pretty good bank, but it was like 2 to 3 shows a weekend to make that money. And selling gimmicks and stuff like that. Like you had to have that business mindset to really make money in that business.
Yeah.
And but I had to take 2 to 3 times actually like every 4 weeks when I first started. Like they were like, hey, you got to come in, we got to check this out, because I wasn't even 28 years old. And they gave me this this x-ray scan. It was basically saying, hey, pick this picture. And I said, they kind of look the same. He said, exactly. You got the brain of a 40-year-old man right now. And I'm not even 28 years old. My wife's in there right now. We just had our newborn baby.
Wait a
my
minute.
daughter.
Is a 40-year-old man a thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that, I didn't know that.
When
They
you're-
were talking like
How old is
like
he?
how old I was, and
Well,
like
is there
from
a
a TV
difference?
standpoint.
Yes.
Now I'm
there's a big
literally
difference.
worried
the
about
same.
me. What the hell? Now
Dude,
I've got to go
bruh.
check that.
That's like the one thing. Like I'm sure you can vouch for this. When we started in training school like that, you never wanted to go to the doctor because you knew what the doctor was going to say. When you sat there and say, "Hey, I do pro wrestling," they're going to look at you and say, "Stop! Literally, don't go. Don't do it. Like
I'm just
that is
offended
not
by
doing anything for your body." Like
I'm offended by the 40-year-old brain thing. It's like that. I didn't even now. If you said a 70-year-old man, I'd be like, oh, okay. But anyway, that's what happens when you get older. You're like, what's wrong with 40? 40-year-old knees.
I'm
I
30
get.
now, so
Well, you're getting
He
close.
was being told that his brain looked like it was 12 years older than it actually was. That was the problem.
But I didn't know. You don't understand. I understand that. I'm just saying I didn't know a 40-year-old brain looked different than a 20-year-old brain.
Oh yeah.
Why? What's happening in there? So I think what it means is that he was intelligent, he was charming, he was mature. I think that's what they saw in there, and they're like, "You're becoming a better human being," is what I think they were trying to
just
tell
keep
this
bouncing
guy.
on your head, and you'll know all the knowledge in your life.
No, that only works in cartoons. That only works in cartoons.
But cartoon.
Where
Damn,
you
Coyote
smack them
Sam.
again and it knocks the sense back into them.
Oh, that's okay. I see.
That doesn't work in real life. And brains are literally like Jell-O. Like you shake it enough, you hit it enough against a hard surface, and it will start to liquefy.
Maybe your brain.
Mostly your frontal lobe, which is where your empathy comes from. Be careful.
What's
Be
the
careful.
craziest thing is I've never really landed on my head in any match. I think the only time I ever did was when I tried to oversell for somebody on a DDT, because I'm pretty sure you can vouch for it. When everybody wanted to do the spike, when everybody would do the DDT, because we had to make that thing look traumatizing, make it look real. And I shocked the guy that I was in the ring with, because I told him, I said, that's going to be your finish if you do it. He's like, no, don't do that. And I said, all right, so we're going to tease it in through the whole match. And literally, I would have him try to hook me for that DDT the whole match. And literally, when he did it, I kind of like oversold it a little bit. I guess he got carried away and he didn't protect my head. So when I fall down, my head just like turns like a little bit. That was my first time ever witnessing like drop it on my head. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know where the other 12 came from. Like literally, it's just like you're so used to it. You're so used to that machine, and it's like.
Let me ask you this: once you get your bell rung like that in the sport, is it not easier to get your bell rung again, or to get more?
You won't really notice it. That's the thing.
Each subsequent concussion is easier to get.
Well, how do you know that you had 12?
Well, the doctor looked at me when he did the scan, and he could just tell like from like little dots and stuff like on the scan, and he could just tell like where the trauma was, stuff like this. And
what kind of scan was this?
It was one of those brain scans, because I was actually trying to get on a big promotion at the time, and all I had to do was pass that. All I had to do was pass this damn test, and I was going to be making nice, good money. After all this craziness, I would have had it all paid off. But yeah, I was pissed. I was really
just
pissed.
12 they caught. You could have had more.
I could have had more, but
I want to know what kind of test this is. What kind of scan is this?
Well,
Big and Funky Family. Find out for me, please.
It
That's
was
intriguing.
someone from Mayo Clinic. Like they had my head like to all these machines, and they wanted to take all these scans out and stuff. Which I wasn't really scared to doing it at first because I was like, I don't think there's a problem. Because I'm sitting there thinking like, man, I'm about to sign a big ass contract. I don't give a damn what's going on. Have my wife come in there because I'm gonna tell her like, hey, after all we've been through, we made it. This is what we want.
Yeah.
And shoot. Wake up from that bad dream.
Let me ask you this then. So we have a lot of fun. We make comedy movies. We do a lot of joking and stuff. We get banned all the time from YouTube for saying things that we shouldn't say. So, but in all seriousness, so you are at a precipice. I think this is interesting, and I think it's interesting. I didn't make the correlation with Tracy and you would be. This is a good interview for both of you, but. Because she's had a lot of experience with this type of thing too. But so you're there, and all you have to do is pass an exam, and you're going to AEW or something. You told me before, right? Okay. You're going to AEW, and so all you got to do is pass the brain scan, and then they say you can't do it, and you're trying to get it. Does the Chris Benoit situation ever cross your mind? What happened with that guy?
We literally just watched that right before that. So my wife was traumatized big time with it. And she literally told me, and I still had a belt at the time. Like I was still a champion for a promotion. And you know that dearly, you don't just drop a title. Like that's shame on you if you don't do a match like that. And my family was adamant, like, hey, he's done. He's done. We're not doing this. Nope. So I had to drop a title without even losing it. Yeah. And it kind of scarred me in some promotions, and they still hold it. You know how wrestling is. They hold grudges like no other. Like they're like some old toxic. It's crazy. Like I still have that issue with certain company now to this day just because of that. But
show must go on.
Exactly. And I mean, I understood it too, but I was like, look, man, this is kind of scary to me. Like I'm not even 30 yet, and I'm already having this much problems. The biggest thing that really got me to really realize this, like I think I told you this before, Vinny, was when I did a training session with a new guy, and he was doing like a pump slam, basically, you know, where they grab you up and just slam you down. Usually it's supposed to be a real safe way. It's a new guy. I was known to help the new guys out a lot, and I was like, okay, I'll help him. Well, I guess when he grabbed me, he didn't have it hooked well enough, so when he dropped me down, I just collided with the board, which I hopped up real quick because adrenaline's a motherfucker. And literally, you don't feel nothing. But when I started driving home, I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
For like almost a week. That's what really freaked me out. Like, I was like, and my mom, she had neck problems when she was 16 years old. And I've been dealing with that since I was 5, taking care of her. Stuff like that. So I had to be like a really older person at a very young age just to basically help my mom because my dad's in the military. He's overseas regularly. So it's like when I had that problem, I started thinking, I'm like, hold up. This is the same stuff I had to deal with my mom. I was like, maybe I do need to go to the doctor. Maybe I do need to go look at this and stuff like this. And then that contract offer was right there, right after, which pissed me off so much. I was like, if I didn't do that, like in my mind at that time, I'm just pissed. I'm like, I shouldn't have went to training that week. Like literally, I should not even went there. I could have been fine, nothing wrong, whatever. And I mean, whoever knows, but I mean, I'm glad I did find out. I'm glad.
You might have saved your life. And
in ways, yes. And that's one thing my wife has told me numerous times is like, it's so much better to have you home because I was gone regularly. I was gone. I work a warehouse. I worked 4 days a week. And then on the weekends, you know how it is. We're just on the road driving wherever to go.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3 shows that weekend because you wanted to make at least a good 1,500 or something like that. It just depends on how well your pay was and stuff like that. and then come right back and do it all over again. Like when I first had to drop in stuff, 4 days at home and then not at work. And I'm just like, this feels so weird. Like
I think I can tell you, you're a young man now. 30. I didn't even get into the sport until I was around 30. So
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
you're a young guy. You got the rest of your life for your brain to heal, and
Mhm.
I know
it can
personal.
heal.
I
Oh
know
yeah,
personal-
absolutely. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I like
I have personal friends
couldn't
that
remember anything 2 years ago. Couldn't
I know
remember
that
a soul.
I know this sounds like a horror story, but I have personal friends, a couple, who
Mhm.
have spouses or whatnot who have had this CTE thing where their brain gets basically all garbled up. Their personality changes. They
Mhm.
become monsters in the home. They scare their wives. They endanger the children. They make the house just a disaster. And it's not worth it because even at the end of the day, when if you made a good amount of money and you had an action figure and all that stuff, it wouldn't be worth it if you
If it
would
think of it like Chris Benoit.
Yeah,
Chris Benoit is one of the greatest wrestlers on this planet, but you'll never see the recognition because of what happened that night.
well, he murdered
Of
his
what
family.
happened those 2 nights.
And you
Like,
got to
literally.
know he wasn't that bad of a guy. It was
No,
his scrambled egg brain that
it's a
made
real
it.
thing.
Yeah,
It's a real thing.
So I applaud you, sir, because you probably
I've had some triggering moments, like you know how like PTSD with military men and stuff, like a sound wave or something like that. A certain thing would like trigger you. Like the first year, man, I witnessed a lot of stuff because I was just depressed. I was really upset. I'm like, man, I just put my body through this for what? Like, what reason? Like, my grandfather just passed away too. Like, it was literally just a whole amount of stuff that was just weighing me down that time when I was literally just saying, you know what, I'm done.
Well,
And it was just.
I applaud you because you saved probably your life and you've saved the mental health of your family, and you're a hero for that. I know what it means to have a dream blow up in your face. I know what it means to work hard for something.
I've had 2 of them so far.
Well, I've had a few myself.
Hey, you actually tried, which is a whole hell of a lot better than a whole lot of people.
Well, there's that, but you got to know that you were going to have your opportunities if it wasn't for this thing. But none of that matters. None of that matters because you did the right thing. You were a man, and you took care of your family, and I hope your family appreciates that. And I think people don't realize. I love football, but I'm a Jets fan. I never watch it. But anyway, I still love the sport. But the concussion thing is out of control. The word,
no shame.
Yeah, there you go. You're the worst team, and I'm the second worst team. So anyway, the word concussion sounds like a dessert you get at an ice cream truck. Oh, I'm going to have a concussion with sprinkles. It doesn't
sound laugh about it.
Yeah, it doesn't. You get I even said it. You get your bell rung. That just sounds like, hey, rub some dirt on it, son. Get up. But they're actually what happens to these men in this sport. I love football, but it's also a fucking meat grinder of human beings.
It's monstrous.
And the same thing is with the sport of wrestling. So my advice to anybody listening who watches this who wants to be a wrestler, and you've said it yourself here and indirectly, if you're going to be a pro wrestler, avoid any move where your spine and your head concusses like this. You don't need to have spike DDTs. You don't need to have pile driver maneuvers. You don't need to have any move where your neck is going to be hitting the mat. I got a friend of mine, great guy. His fucking finish is the headbutt off the top rope. I'm like, quit doing that move. He's like, I only hit it about once out every 3 times. I only make contact. And it's like, it's just not worth it, man. It's a great looking move, but just don't do it, man. Do an elbow drop, do a leg drop, do something safe. If you're going to need a top rope move like that, do something safe. You don't need to hurt your neck. It's just not worth it. And I'll tell you something. You don't know it now. Maybe you do, I guess, because you have this experience. But once your health leaves, especially at a certain age, it's gone forever. And so you're going to be a little incomplete, and the more you hurt yourself. So, that's why
just deteriorates your body, basically. Yeah.
That's why my tag team partner, pulled a rubber duck out of his kilt Saturday night and stuck it in the guy's face. That's why my finish is the figure 4. Leg psychology is easy to do. Nobody's going to get hurt. You can fill up time, choke, eye gouge, that kind of stuff. I know it's not as exciting as getting on the top rope and doing.
I love the entertainment aspect, man. That's the thing. Like, I got talked into doing the top rope thing because I'm terrified of heights. So my character, I was like, I did want to be different because my character obviously is a masked character and stuff. So I saw it as I'm a superhero. Like, that's my Superman. I'm Clark Kent right here. And what would be some ways for me to prove that that's not Warren Marlow in that mask in areas that know me? Okay, I'm going to go on the top rope, do a crossbody on like everybody in the bottom. And it was great. Pop was amazing and stuff. But I mean, the after effects aren't that great. Even if that's a very soft move and even if you do it really safe, you still get an impact on it because hey, the guy's still got to catch you. The guy's still got to catch you. And in the long run, that can push your neck.
What's funny is people aren't trained on how, like, the cross body is an old school move. It's one of the earliest high flying moves. And people aren't.
It's not really hard to do either. It's really all you're doing is extend up. If the guy catches you, you're fine.
It's a good looking move if the guy catches you right. But the thing is, people don't train, and that's where the danger comes in. Nobody knows how to catch the guy doing a crossbody. And it's the same thing with a backdrop. A backdrop used to be in every match. You just get the guy, you throw him up, he goes through the air. People don't know. People don't train on how to do that. Now, if you do a backdrop, half the time the guy doesn't know how to pitch you off. You go off sideways. You're just flying on your neck. And that's the problem. Is there's a lot of these guys who don't get in wrestling and they don't know what they're doing, and they think that because if they play PS2 and the video game is like, oh, I can do this move. They think they can do it, and they need to have somebody teaches them how to do these moves.
Just knowing chain, like you could think it this way: if you just did chain wrestling, you could do a whole match that way. Headlock, arm wringer.
The best guys can, and it takes a little je ne sais quoi. It takes a little knowledge how to get a crowd involved in something that other people would perceive to be boring or basic. But I think wrestling is important. Chain wrestling and mat wrestling is important for every match to let.
I won't go in a match with somebody unless they know chain wrestling. Like, literally, that's how you protect yourself. Literally, if they know what the art of chain wrestling is and knowing that, hey, it's a 50-50 ordeal. Not really worry about who's getting what. Like, just in between, you get what you want, I get what I want. And then we go in and we just entertain the crowd. Like, we don't even have to do it much. Like, I remember one match, which I really loved more than anything, was just because the interaction we did with the crowd is basically the crowd was reacting to our match for a good solid 6 minutes. We didn't even touch. Like, the crowd was just invested into that match, calling the guy bald, just the little slanders that you do on a heel. And it was perfect. And literally the match ended up with a roll-up. And people were blown away because guess what? That just showed a purpose of what the pin really does.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Thank you. Somebody gave me a Diet Coke from the freezer and exploded everywhere on my friend's floor.
Oh
no! But anyway, the other good thing about mat wrestling and chain wrestling. The good thing about mat wrestling and chain wrestling, and a lot of people won't think about this, it's not in the sport, you can go all at it. You can go 100% shoot when you do that. And you can make it look real. And nobody is going to get hurt. And that's the beauty of that. I've had matches with guys who are really good. You know what I mean when you have a conflict of styles. There's guys if it was a video game or your action figures and you're an 8-year-old kid, it's like, I'd love to see this guy versus this guy. But in reality, when the two human beings get together, sometimes it just – I had a guy who was a great personality, good wrestler, a guy I liked, and me and him always kind of had matches that didn't live up to the hype. But the one time I said, let's just wrestle. And we go out there and do amateur collegiate wrestling. It was one of the greatest matches ever because our personalities were still there. Our legacies were still there. The fans were still there. The story was still there, but it was me and him sweating our balls off, going at it. and we would break up. My hair, I used to have bigger hair. My hair would be all over the place. His beard would be all over the place. And it looks like, oh my God, they're mad. Totally
They
sane.
were going at it. Yeah, they were really going at it. Yeah.
And nobody got hurt, and the crowd, and nobody was blown up really, and nobody was in danger of concussing the neck. Well, injury aside, what was your name? When you're in the Florida, right?
Yeah, I was in Jacksonville area. American Prodigy.
American Prodigy, and who trained you?
Rock and Roll Chris Turner from Stomping Grounds and Continental Championship Wrestling over in Jacksonville, Florida.
Beautiful. And do you still get around the boys or anything? You go in any matches sometimes? And
a lot of guys actually still send me a lot of their matches and want feedback and stuff like that. I've been still pretty recognized outside of the business, which was really cool because when COVID hit, all the wrestlers didn't have a job basically. So I decided to do a podcast, and they've been very open to like, hey, I would like to do this. I'd like to do this. One good thing I'll say about COVID is a lot of my friends is literally getting to do the big times. Like my boy Alex Kane, he's wrestling in MLW. NWA is finally coming back with a great rampant right now. I mean, it's good to see like the old school wrestling promotions are up and running again, other than Ring of Honor, which Ring of Honor was kind of like that New Japan fast-paced stuff like we see on TV every week on Wednesdays, but it's like
it's just good to see that if you're a fan of wrestling, there's things to watch.
There's like 6 different types of, like 6 days a week you can watch a wrestling show now, which is unheard of. It's unheard of.
So you're known as American Prodigy down in Jacksonville. So you're a good-looking guy. I guess I'm not gay.
Appreciate it.
Is he a good-looking guy, Tracy?
Humans
yes
or humans? I like humans. Yeah, humans. Yeah, sure.
You can't tell the guy he's a good-looking guy. You can't just say yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good.
All right. So
I had to wear a mask for a reason, I guess.
I'm going through some things, man. I'm not in a position. I'm not in the right headspace to be telling people whether or not they're attractive. I'm sorry.
But I have no idea what that means.
No
but
judgment.
Anyway. But you're a decent-looking guy. So why did you feel like what was the psychology or what was the reason for wearing a hood?
Because I smiled too much.
So that was it.
I would get my ass beat, and I'm sitting there smiling.
Was it just because was that a nervous thing, or because you were having fun?
I just loved it. I loved every bit of it.
Being in the ring. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean,
man, I don't know. Do you believe in a higher power or anything? You in the spiritual stuff or anything?
What do you mean, like religion? Like
kinda or whatever. Yeah. I'm not. Well, this isn't about turning the button. I think.
I mean, religion's what it is. I mean, obviously I believe there's a God, but if people don't, I mean, I can't change their mind. So it's whatever you believe.
I'm asking you. So you believe in something, right? You have something. Okay. So maybe the universe, God, whatever, Mother Nature, karma, a big ball of fuzzy happy shit.
The flying spaghetti monster.
Right. The flying spaghetti monster. Whatever's out there that's omnipotent and all-knowing. Maybe there's a reason, because I know you love the sport of wrestling, and it breaks my heart that you're not in it, but maybe there's a reason. Have you ever thought about that, to kind of calm yourself and say, something really bad could have happened in my life if I didn't put the brakes on it?
I mean, some of my matches, I was starting to like second guess on like some things already, so I was already kind of like lagging really bad, because I was like, when you're in the matches, you don't want to think about a damn soul. Like, you just want to make the crowd happy, get the guy over that you're trying to wrestle, and I mean, the rest is history. You're not going to second guess a hip toss, a drop kick, a arm drag, or stuff like that. I was second guessing the suplex, which you don't do that. And we did fine and stuff, but I was starting to hesitate on moves and stuff, because like I said, I was sore. I was getting hurt. Yeah. And like I said, my papa just passed away. And I'm Warren the third, and I was Warren the senior. So I can tell you how serious that was to me. And
Well,
the sad thing is, I mean, it sounds bad, but I literally wrestled the next night after he passed away just because that's what I was so used to doing. Like, I felt like that was my, okay, I definitely need to work this show this weekend because it's like I need to relieve stress. I need to just take anger out, whatever. And I feel bad for the guy that I did the match with because we went pretty Japan style in ways. But other than that, it was like I didn't know what else to do. Like at that time,
it sounds like
Warren Marlow's standpoint, there was a part where I enjoyed being American Prodigy more than I was me.
Right. I'd say that's a scary thing, isn't it? Maybe
that's a lot of wrestlers do that though.
Yeah.
Not even wrestlers. That's anybody in general. Like everybody wants to believe in a better version of themselves. And the stuff that was happening in my life as Warren Marlow, American Prodigy had a way bigger, different outlook. Kids loved me. Fans just adored anything that I'd done.
Right.
The action figures, all that stuff. Man, it's so cool when you randomly seeing people carrying stuff like that, walking around you, and you don't even know who that is. Right. And that was the moments that I really took in. Like my very last run, I really was taking it like I was really just taking a step back and just looking at it all. I was like, you know what? If this all ends, I'm okay with this. And not even 2 weeks later, we get this issue, and it's like, all right, there's your sign.
Well, it sounds like I read a book once about these guys in Vietnam. They were called. They would basically they would go and exterminate the rat tunnels, is what they would call them. That's where the Viet Cong would hide. And one of the reasons America struggled in that war so badly was because of the tunnel system underneath. Everywhere they would go, they were underneath this, running around like crazy people. And we were like, hey, where are they? They would send guys in to these holes to go into these mazes and shoot whatever they would see down there. Or they would steal stuff. And it was very dangerous. They could booby trap the holes. And it was a horrible gig. Whoever got that gig, Jesus. But there was a point you could do that. But there was a point where people would break mentally, where they would go in and they just start shooting right away. And they wouldn't see anything. They just thought they did. And they were like, all right, well, you're done. And it sounds like that's in wrestling. That's where you went. When you're second guessing a hip toss, an arm drag.
That's a big no-no.
A vertical
That's a big
suplex.
no-no.
Well, those are all safe moves too. So it's like, if you can't do those in your mind, then it may be time to hang it up. I think it was a good call. And I applaud you. I'm going to give you a standing ovation. Well, I'm not going to get up. I'm going to give you an ovation at least. Thank you for taking care of yourself and your family. And I know that's a crappy thing, man. But, you're a young guy. Learn how to play the guitar. There's a million things. You act. You can do stand-up comedy. You can start doing workout videos. There's other ways to entertain people and get out there and express yourself. Your life is not over. In fact, you saved your life.
Oh, no.
And again,
I mean,
yeah, wrestling.
I feel like this podcast has really been the next outlet for me because I'm enjoying it as much as I did when I was in the ring. Like, I'm pretty sure you can vouch for this. The most best moment of being a wrestler is coming through that curtain. Yep. And regardless if it's a cheer or a boo, man, that's what you live for. That's where all those bumps, all that hurt, pain, whatever, man. When you go through that curtain, the rest is history. I feel like that now with the podcast. I feel like now is like the type of guest I have, like somebody talk about pageantry or something like that. And they could actually invest me into talking about that episode. And I have not a lick of idea or any type of option on that. And I'm actually entertained by it. That's what I live for now, because I look at it as like, what can I learn from this episode? What can I learn from this person that supposedly is homeless and I got oust, whatever? What can they do to explain that to me? And like, hey, they're living a better lifestyle than what I am because no pressure. They're not stressed over a lot of stuff as many people are around the world and stuff like that.
So you had a homeless guy do a podcast?
No, I was just using it like an example.
Okay.
That's just like an example. No.
You need to fire your agent. You got to get a new agent.
I was definitely using a metaphor. I'm not trying to.
Okay. I was about to say
I ain't trying to do no interview with homeless.
The guy down at the Greyhound bus station. Now that would be actually an interesting interview. I just was.
It probably would have.
Yeah, because I mean, I used to be a counselor for homeless people, and
Oh yeah.
the stories you would get were amazing. I knew every prostitute in the city, and that's not because I was a
Oh
John,
wow.
but to hear a lot of what their kicks were. There was a girl, beautiful girl. Of course, what happens, they're beautiful, and then about 6 months later, after the drug use, they look like your grandmother. But this girl was beautiful, crazy as a damn. She was goofier than a run-over dog, as my dad would say. He's from Tennessee. She came in, started talking, blah, blah, blah. One day she came in completely bald. This was before Sinead O'Connor even did her gimmick, or maybe it was after that. It was around the time Sinead O'Connor went bald. And I was like, and Demi Moore in that military movie. I was like,
Yeah.
what's up with the hair? Did you get lice or what's going on? And she said, no. She said, there's a prominent attorney in Knoxville, and his kick is every 6 months, he's going to give me $500. He's got a beautiful wife, family. And all he's going to do is strip me down completely naked in the chair and take the shears and just shave my head. I said, do you screw after that in the hair or what do you think? No sex at all. He just shaves my head, $500 every 6 months. I was like, wow. Your parents
$500 just to shave head.
I'd need more than $500 for that.
It was the 90s. It stretched a little bit better back then.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Marlow.
I'd still want more than that, but yeah, okay.
If you want to talk to a really cool guy or want to listen to a really cool guy who's got a podcast, it's a lot about wrestling, but he has other guests on. Buzzing with Marlow, you can just search for it and it'll pop up everywhere. His name is Warren Marlow. Sir, thank you so much. You got anything else to say to the big and funky crowd as we about to end this show?
Nah, I just appreciate y'all having me. It was definitely a good, fun chat, and I appreciate all the praises because I might have needed it 3 years ago, but I mean, I'm just appreciative of what I've done in my life, and I'm pretty sure you've done the same. Kudos to you to actually get back in the ring recently and have a good match.
Well,
I mean, all these people are coming back, man. They're sitting there like, man, Warren, what's your excuse now? When you coming back? I'm like, I don't know yet, man. This is like that toxic relationship. You never say never, but
oh yeah,
it is. It is what it is, man.
You're gonna get drunk and text wrestling one day. I still love you. I still think.
I try to steer away from all my friends from wrestling. Like when it comes to like interviewing them on the podcast, because they literally will wait till we're on live and they're like, "Hey man, I got this idea for you. They want to do this spot. They want to do this. They want the Prodigy back. We got the Prodigy moments." And it's just like where you're looking at it, like you obviously got to go, never say never, because you obviously the listeners are like, "Yeah, when you gonna think about it, man? Edge is back, Brian's back." All these guys that have neck injuries, they're back. So why ain't you there yet? And it's just like, yeah, never say never. Like that's literally the only thing I'd just be saying is just never say never. And everybody's like, oh, he's coming back. He's coming back. And that's been 3 years now.
It's not worth it, man. I mean, it's fun, but at the end of the day, I'll tell you something. When you're
if I'd done anything, it would have been like a little simple thing. Like if I ever did come back, it would be to go against one particular guy that I owed a match to. And it would have been a safe match, whatever. But the only thing I would ever come back for is just to return that favor to that one person. That's it.
Well, he
knows who it is.
But yeah, you just take care of yourself, my friend. All right, man. Have a good one and be good. And your family appreciates you. Tracy, you got anything to say to my friend here?
It was nice to meet you.
Oh, okay.
Nice meeting you.
She's great.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. All right. Well, that was a nice conversation. I know we kind of bored you with the pro wrestling, but you came out and you saw Luke.
It's okay. I made a little sign, and it's reusable for other episodes.
What does it say? Save me?
Save me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about us for a second. Me and you, baby. So,
okay.
Just real quick before we sign off, we got about a minute or so. WJC AM is completely done. Now, the people that are distributing the thing want the hike on DVD, and we're gonna. So I'm retooling that. So now I've got to kind of fix some of the technical issues with the hike, which there aren't many, but there are a few. We got it. There's something called ProRes. It's got to be ProRes if it's going to be all over the world. It's got to be, the audio is going to be separated. So we're excited to say that in April, the DVDs of the hike and WJHC will be available, and probably WJHC, not probably, but WJHC will be starting to stream worldwide in April. It is completely done. Luke was supposed to do he was supposed to film. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's just in time for us to start filming Camp Smokey and be like out and about and like lugging around equipment and shit.
That's right. So it's good that we're all working out. It's going to be like the hike, because the hike was a hike to film that movie.
Yeah.
Luke was supposed to film a teaser trailer, but it's apparently monsooned in Gatlinburg for the last 2 weeks, and he hasn't had a chance to come out and do that. But the teaser trailer for the new movie is going to come out very soon. We've just got done with Emmy Sunshine's new video called Miss Anna. It's not a silly video. It's kind of a serious thing. But if you like country music, if you like Americana music, she's adorable. It's a good freaking song. And I think we did a good job on the video. And DVDs coming out. We got pictures of the girls coming out for you to buy. Camp Smokey's getting set up. And we've got Evil Tacos and computer-generated movie to rest to do this year. And Wrestling with Ghosts. So there's always something going on here. Even in our down times, there's somebody in the laboratory doing something. So thank you for your support. We love you guys. Tracy, got anything?
Watch my Facebook page, or actually watch my social media channels for updates on the Getting Swole for the New Role campaign that I'm working out. So, and
I like the little dance you did.
Thanks.
Well, I'm working out for that same movie. So this will be the Svelte, Big and Funky Productions movie.
Big and funky in the best shape of our lives.
Except for Luke. He's going to be fat as a tick. But oh well. He looked good in the hike, so I'll give him that one.